For behold, to one is given by the Spirit of God that he may teach the word of wisdom, to another that he may teach the word of knowledge by the same Spirit, to another exceedingly great faith, and to another the gifts of healing by the same Spirit, and again to another that he may work mighty miracles, and again to another that he may prophesy concerning all things, and again to another the beholding of angels and ministering spirits, and again to another all kinds of tongues, and again to another the interpretation of languages and of divers kinds of tongues. And all these gifts come by the Spirit of Christ, and they come unto every man severally according as he will. What a beautiful thing that we don't all have the same gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit. It allows us to serve each other. That's one of the things that allows us to serve each other, is that we all have different talents, different spirit, different gifts of the Spirit. To lift each other up, to bear one another's burdens, to mourn with those that mourn. Some have that gift to mourn with those that mourn. I think that's a beautiful gift to have. That people sometimes that they know what to say, they know when to show up, they know when not to say anything, they know when to just bring a plate over of food, they know when to send a text or a phone call or a letter. They just know, and that's one that I would love to have a little more of, to know when the other individual on the end that's mourning, to know exactly when those things are needed.
It is a gift.
Yeah.
And I think it's important too, because there were several talks given about, making sure that you don't turn gifts into, what was it? Into what? Does anyone remember the word he used?
I don't.
Mm-mm.
But don't turn your gifts into stumbling blocks or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where you get so focused on one thing and you're really good at that one thing that you start to negate everything else, and that becomes your prime source and your prime directive, as it was, and that's all you think about. That's all you do, and you completely ignore any of the other gifts or anything else that there was a talk given when talked about someone that had just an incredible gift of being able to heal people, right, through the Spirit and through the priesthood, and got to the point that he started seeking people out, and it got out of control, is what it did. And I can't remember who gave that talk, but I think it's important to remember that one gift isn't better than the other. Just like when the verses talked about, are your feet not as good as your eyes? I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about, when they were talking about the different parts of the body, and one part of the body isn't better than the other. I mean, if you didn't have any feet, you couldn't walk around. It wouldn't do us any good to be little heads rolling all over the place, right?
That's true.
But the gifts are the same thing, right? It doesn't mean that someone is more special because they have a gift and someone has a different gift, or maybe someone says, I'm like a jack of all gifts and a professional of none, right? I have a little bit of everything. It doesn't matter. The important thing is that we recognize where those gifts come from, and that we don't judge others based on that. Like, one of the things that I think sometimes is difficult for the culture in the church is when some members get on a rant about doing your genealogy, or they get on a rant about doing missionary work, and that's all they rant about all the time, forgetting everything else, right? And nothing else is important. And that's just not true. It's all important. All of it's important, and we can't do it all, but we can certainly strive.
I like that. Joe, I think you had a couple quotes. Yeah, there you go. Go ahead. I was going to pull them up.
We're on the same page.
Right.
Me and Jackson on the same brainwave.
I think it's a gift.
Yeah, it probably is. It's Jackson's gift. So I've got a quote here from Bruce R. McConkie. Spiritual gifts are endless in number and infinite in variety. Those listed in the revealed word are simply illustrations of the boundless outpouring of divine grace that a gracious God gives those who love and serve him. So just a simple starting point, if you will, not an all-encompassing list. And in fact, we get a little bit bigger list from Marvin J. Ashton, who provides a little bit more illustration on the topic. He says, taken at random, let me mention a few gifts that are not always evident or noteworthy, but that are very important. The gift of asking, the gift of listening, the gift of hearing and using a still small voice, the gift of being able to weep, the gift of avoiding contention, the gift of being agreeable, the gift of avoiding vain repetition, the gift of seeking that which is righteous, the gift of not passing judgment, the gift of looking to God for guidance, the gift of being a disciple, the gift of caring for others, the gift of being able to ponder, the gift of offering prayer, the gift of bearing a mighty testimony, and the gift of receiving the Holy Ghost. Those are pretty good kind of expansions on the topic that I thought would be nice to share. There's also
super nice to share. It gives everybody the opportunity to like, oh, I don't have any. You do have gifts. Everybody has spiritual gifts. The cool part is trying to figure out what it is. And this expansion is not a full list of all the spiritual gifts that are boundless and endless.
Like the quote from Elder McConkie, there's all different degrees too, and different directions these gifts can take. So, like the gift of tongues, I think that's one. When you think of spiritual gifts, at least for me, that's one of the first ones that come to mind, is the gift of tongues. And I don't think I have it in the traditional sense, but you got to think there's multiple versions of that, right? Like there's being able to learn a different language, maybe serving a mission overseas and you picked it up and you're able to speak fluently. That could be seen as the gift of tongues. Maybe like the day of Pentecost and you're speaking a language you've never even, practiced before. That would be an extreme case of the gift of tongues, right? But what about learning your own language or speaking fluently, being able to speak well from the pulpit or speaking well in the classroom or just speaking heart to heart with someone? And like Jackson said, just knowing when someone needs that kind word or whatever. I mean, those are all variations, and maybe there's a Venn diagram where things start overlapping of, is it the gift of tongues or is it the gift of comforting? There's some overlap there. And I think everybody has gifts. And the fun part is figuring out what yours is, or maybe saying, I'd really like to have that one and go work on it for a while. DNC 46:8 talks about that. Go find every good gift you can and develop it. And I think it's like the talents, if you take what you've been given and you grow it, you expand on that, then the Lord will bless you with more.
Absolutely. And I'm not the word that's coming to mind right now is those kinds of gifts are more valuable, but that's not the right way to put it. But I think there's
precious.
Yeah, there you go. They're a little more precious because we know that Russell M. Nelson, President Nelson, has said that the Lord loves effort. When you put effort into developing spiritual gifts, I think it's a righteous thing to seek after. Developing more gifts. It all goes back to serving our friends, family, neighbors, strangers. If we can develop the more gifts that we can develop to serve more, long way.
No, for sure.
Yep.
I was blessed with the gift of tongues.
How many?
Well, just one. But as I was reading in verse 17, I had no idea how to pronounce or what severally meant. So I went to the gift of the dictionary, and the gift of the dictionary explained to me how to say that word and what it meant.
Okay.
So
there you go, man. Blessed. Blessed.
Educate me. What you got?
Oh, basically it means individually, separately. All these gifts come by the Spirit of Christ, and they come unto every person separately, according as he, Christ, will.